Welcome to the Car Guys. This week we're here for a first look at the Ferrari Portofino. We get a first drive, get our first impressions, and we decide the important question: should we buy one? Is there place for one in the Car Guys garage? Let's find out, shall we? So first impressions. Well, it's very, very similar in feel at the moment, certainly at these low speeds, to the California T. Inside, I mean, it's comfortable, it's functional. You've got this enormous screen in the center of the car, which is a touch screen, which makes all those features that were impossible to access in something like a 488 that much easier. It's just like the GTC4 Lusso as well, where touchscreen interface just makes it a real pleasure to access all of the features of this car. You've got the central rev counter right in the center, which in this case is silver, and two TFT screens either side, and you can adjust them quite easily using the same sort of jog controls as the 488. It feels high up, obviously, compared to the 488. Should this be added to the garage? Is this a car we should consider? Now, we've already got a 488 GTB, so the obvious answer is no, but maybe we're going to be seduced by its open top charms. The Manatino on the California, to reflect its sort of non-racing, non-super sporty credentials, only has three settings. So we've got comfort, we've got sport, and we've got the stability controls off. So it's obviously a lot less than a 488. 488, you've got sport and race and wet, and you have two different traction control settings that you turn off to control it. But on this one, it's pared down massively. It's got the new indicator buttons of the GTC4 Lusso, which are an improvement over the 458 and 488, but still, you can't fully tell that you're still indicating, so they're still a little bit annoying, which Jason will be pleased to hear because he loves me going on about indicators. So down into third. I mean, it's a decent enough shove. I'm not going to call it massively rapid. It certainly doesn't feel like a supercar. It certainly doesn't feel significantly faster than, I guess, some of its rivals. Dynamically, it feels soft, it feels comfortable, it absorbs the road bumps beautifully. But does it feel a little bit flat? Dare I say it, a little bit dull? From someone who's used to driving the more high performance Ferraris, this does feel a little bit too comfortable for a Ferrari. But the roof is off, the sun is shining, so obviously it's the best possible conditions for driving a car like this. Yeah. It's not a particularly great sounding car, I have to say. I mean, the car ahead of us, he's accelerating and decelerating quite a bit, and you're getting a nice boomy noise out of it, but it's definitely not one of the greats. It doesn't sing like a Ferrari should, which is a real shame, but I guess that's just what you have to put up with in the turbocharged era. From the back, it actually resembles the limited edition Disco Volante prototype limited run car they did. Frontwards, it's a bit aggressive. It's a little bit more like a Mini 812, so it's definitely slightly more aggressive. But actually, looking in the rear view mirror at the red car behind us, it looks quite Corvette-y, but even more than that, I think it actually looks a bit like the first generation Dodge Viper. So if you have this car in red and you see one coming up behind you, you could be forgiven for thinking it's a Dodge Viper SRT. One of the cool things about convertibles, modern convertibles, is that you should be able to put the roof up or down whilst the car's moving, because having to stop and put handbrakes on and stuff, that's just so 90s. and it's really inconvenient when you've got the sort of weather that you get, changeable weather. So let's see what happens. We flick the button, we're still moving, so we're doing about 15 miles an hour, and yes, the roof is coming down. We've got a large section of the rear has just folded down the back. A massive piece of roof has just disappeared. The whole back of the car comes off, and there we are. I don't know how long that was, but we can always check the film and see exactly how long it took to go down. And we're away. Even with the ESC off mode engaged, it feels like there's always traction control turned on. So it doesn't look like I can ever have all the systems off and truly have some fun. I've put the power down flat in first, and there's not a hint that the tyres are going to break away. And given that this car's got enough power to give you some fireworks, I'm assuming that the power's being reined in somehow, which is very disappointing. So you don't really ever get any sense of theatre or excitement when driving this car. It is definitely a tool for driving relatively briskly in great comfort with the roof off, but it's far more of a boulevard cruiser than a real Ferrari. I have to say I sort of prefer the Jaguar F-Type at the moment, because at least the Jaguar F-Type gives you an incredible soundtrack, and actually it feels a little bit better inside. It may not have the super wide touchscreen that this car's got, but everything in the Jaguar F-Type is a lot easier to hand and a lot more sensible. This car feels a bit of an enigma. There's a real identity crisis, I think, going on here. It's certainly a lovely car for those of you who just want to pootle around in town and who want the prestige of the badge. Yeah, it's perfect for that. But anyone seeking hard driving, great dynamics, good driving fun, I'm not sure this is going to deliver. It's a lovely car, don't get me wrong, but it's not the sort of thing that we at the Car Guys would lust after, and I think it's a Ferrari designed for a certain demographic, which definitely isn't us. So I like it, but I don't think it's special enough or Ferrari enough to have a place in the garage. So let's take a look inside this new Ferrari Portofino and just show you the cabin and then have a look around the outside of the car. So steering wheel, this one's got the carbon pack on it, and you can see it's pretty festooned with controls. New indicator buttons from the GTC4 Lusso, and the way they work is that you can press it lightly for 3 indicator pulses, or you can press it firmly to leave it on, or you can press it and hold it to keep it on. So they are an improvement over the 458 and the 488, but they do take a little bit getting used to. Full beam and flash, so you pull back for flashing, push it for full beam. There's the familiar bumpy road setting to stiffen up or soften up the suspension. Keyless entry as with the 488, so you press the engine start to start the car and to stop it, and there's another one of these huge keys which you then put into its little sheath. This one's got a little sheath there. On the steering wheel you have the ferocity of the windscreen wipers, so you're controlling it all there, and the windscreen wash. The Manettino, as you can see, we've just got comfort, sport and ESC off, but you've got the main climate control here. The annoying thing about that is that depending on what you press, you've really got no idea what's on and off. It's quite difficult to see. Reverse, switch between auto and manual, and then the launch control button, which is a real curious one on a Portofino, because the car is really not set up and geared for high-speed launches. So I don't even know why there is a launch button on this car. It's clearly a car that isn't aimed at that sort of driver. The now familiar center rev counter, 2 TFT screens. I've got no idea how to change the one on the left. And behind us we've got 2 token 2+2 seats, which you could fit people in for a quick trip down the pub, but you're certainly not going to want to keep them for long. Let's have a look at the Portofino from the outside. It's got fairly aggressive shape front, so the nose is a bit more 812 than previous California and California T. It's a reasonably swoopy shape, but I really don't believe that this is a particularly successful or pretty Ferrari. I don't think it's a huge step on from the California T, so the last iteration of the California. There's acres of space and just flat surfaces here, which I don't think looks very good. And also this enormous section on the back where the roof goes. I mean, that is a big piece of metal. So that's the Ferrari Portofino. Does it deserve a place in the Car Guys garage? I don't think so. I don't think it's necessarily aimed at me. It's not aimed, I think, at keen drivers. I think it's aimed at more casual owners who want to get into the Ferrari brand, experience some of the magic, and then obviously ultimately move into a newer car. I think it's a great car. I think it's obviously quality prospect, but it just doesn't have the edge that I'm looking for. So I think the Portofino is definitely out for the Car Guys. But what do you think? Leave comments, let us know. What do you think of the car? Do you think it's a real Ferrari? Do you think it's been softened too much compared to other models or since the California T? Is it just a slightly rebodied California T and not really a new car in its own right? Let us know. Be very interested. Thanks for watching the video, guys. Please subscribe, leave likes and comments. We really do appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed this review and first look of the new Ferrari Portofino. We'll see you on the channel soon.